You're listening to the Jiu Jitsu Lou Podcast, and I'm Lou Temlett. I'm guessing you're having a good day because either you've been on the mats, considering getting on the mats, or maybe taking yourself to train. I'm so happy you're here listening or watching this episode. Please don't tap out before the end. When you want to learn off the mats, start a Jiu Jitsu podcast. I'd like to welcome me, myself, and I to my 30th podcast. I hope you're all well. It's really great to be here and reflect on my recent competition experience. Now, it's been 16 episodes since I last did a solo episode, and it's a number of days since I got back from my first competition, and it's taken me a little bit of courage to set up my kit and start recording this particular episode. After coming back from Barcelona, yes, Barcelona, for my first competition, I was really fired up and ready to go again and really enthusiastic. But maybe like you, if you've competed in anything ever, there's a couple of days where there's fallout and you feel quite low and that you want the excitement and the experience of that particular event or competition again to kind of keep you on a high, to keep you energized. So maybe some of you understand and have experienced what I've been going through this week. But today I want to talk about my experience as a female competitor, registering for the competition, being a mum who competes, the logistics of getting to a competition with or without your children, the worries, the preparation, the support behind you, the expectations we put on ourselves. I want to also thank all of the people that have supported me. And then we'll talk a bit about the emotions and the come down and what I learned. So let's start by reflecting on being a female competitor. Now, I know many of you listening may have competed, may want to compete, may never, ever want to set foot on the competition mats. But as a female competitor, there are generally less individuals wanting to put themselves forward for a competition. Now, throughout my life, I've occasionally enjoyed and reveled in having competitive spirit and challenging myself to improve, to become better, and being part of a martial art that has competitions involved, if you want them to be. I saw it as a great opportunity. Now, the seed was sown about a year and a half ago when fellow kind of teammates started to go along to competitions. And I went along as an observer to support, cheer people on, get some great footage at some of the events, because obviously some events you're not permitted to take photos or video, but really being there and immersing myself in the feeling of competition spirit. Lots of people walking around, lots of people kind of in their gis, ready to get into the bullpen, which is where you have your weigh-in and prepare to, walk to the mat and compete. I quite enjoyed it. My children compete. So actually for me, it's one of the things as a parent going along to support. But one of the downside is feeling the heartbreak when there's a loss, when things don't quite go your way. And that's something to kind of take hold of as well. All of this competition stuff is so filled with emotion. Now, as a female competitor, as I've mentioned, there aren't quite so many of us that want to compete or even put ourselves forward to compete. Now, I've had a number of refunds, so I've put myself in for competitions, and then there's been nobody matched with me to be able to compete. But the reason why I decided to sign up for the IBJJF Masters in Barcelona was thanks to Emily Isles, one of my previous podcast guests. People that compete know a lot about the competitions. So if you ever come across, anybody that competes, start asking them questions. They are so full of knowledge and experience. A, for which competitions are taking part, and B, how it feels, what's involved. But ladies, like giving birth, nobody really tells you the juicy gossip and the details about what you're letting yourself in for. So this episode, for me, whilst it's encouraging more women and children and everybody to start training a martial art, this is the reality of competing as a mother, as a single mother, and as a female in the competition space. So registering for the IBJJF Masters, as I've mentioned before in the conversation with Emily on our episode, it doesn't mean that you're any better. It just means you're older. So Masters starts at 31 and kind of goes up through the ranks. I'm now 47, so I'm a Masters 4. And when I registered for this competition, I put myself in at Masters 4, and I'm super heavy. So that means I'm 80 kilos and above. And that's my weight and age category. But even before I registered for a competition, being a parent and having my children, I needed to organise, first things first, flights and hotel. So there's all these intricacies of actually getting to the event, where you stay, the proximity to the venue. I'd considered all of those things and used various apps and platforms to book all of the different things, the hotel, the flights, the transfers, and really consider the safety aspect and the logistics aspect of getting us as a small family to Barcelona. And then I registered for the competition. So I was secure in knowing that I would be there on time and that I had somewhere to stay and kind of go back to and just relax to. So I then registered for the competition. I put myself in at Masters 4 super heavy. And for a number of weeks, maybe a month or more, there were no competitors in my category. Now, the reason why I put myself in for a competition was to actually have a match. One of the things I learned along the last couple of months was that I would be awarded a default gold medal in my category if there was only myself in that kind of category. But I'm not going to go to Barcelona, in a most amazing city, and make all of that effort just to take a default medal. Now, that meant that I needed to drop down at least 2 age categories. So I dropped down to Masters 2. So initially, I was quite fearful about doing this, but, being matched and fighting with someone 10 years younger, I don't have the body of a 30-year-old. I don't have the mentality of a 30-year-old. I'm very much in the mindset of development, recovery, and kind of responsibility in my kind of late 40s. So it was a big thing to shift. And thank you to one of my listeners who encouraged me to make that step down to a Masters 2, or step up, I should say, because it was one of the best things that I decided to do. My training, being a parent, I train 2 to 3 times a week and do the competition class. And actually any more is not quite logistically possible with all of the school activities, all of the children activities, work and other things. Oh, throw in that mix a house move. So whilst life is great, when you start making changes, there are often lots of changes that happen around you all at the same time. And it felt like a real test to keep everything going as if, life was normal and, carrying on. So there I am, registered for Masters 2 and super heavy, and I'm starting to have a number of competitors. Now, when it got to being in Barcelona, there were 2 other competitors, which meant there were 3 of us. And whilst that's great, my mind went to, okay, gold, silver, and bronze. I knew that if there stayed 3 of us in our category, I would walk away with a medal. Now, I'm not sure about you, but my mindset, when you know that there is something you don't have to work too hard for, why would you? Why would you push yourself that much further? And this is me being completely honest. I think if there were more competitors in my category, I would have fought harder for what I was kind of stepping into. But my first competition, so whilst I could have easily, I have easily registered for local competitions, there have been no competitors. So some of us really have to consider registering for competitions, the potential of getting a refund and not having a match. It's quite easy to register for a competition and then to set the wheels in motion to start training, to start looking after yourself, hydrating, doing the mindset and mental practice to get you to that place. But it's another step when you actually do have competitors. The heat gets turned on. But like I was saying, maybe the heat wasn't on quite so much. So there I am in Barcelona, having arrived. As a parent or anyone organising an event for more than yourself, more than a couple of people, there are things that you need to consider. All of the packing, all of the preparation. Anyway, we got to Barcelona and it was amazing. Arrived at a hotel and could see the venue directly from our hotel, which was fantastic. And the next morning, wandering over to the venue. Again, checking online to know that there were a number of competitors and seeing the lineup. So on the Saturday, there were black belts, brown belts, and purple belts. So all of the higher ranked competitors competing on the Saturday. So me and the children wandered across and were immersed in such a big event. I did a few calculations and worked out that my match on the Sunday was match 65 and that there were still matches after mine. There were 10 matches. So I reckon there were around 700 matches each day, which is a massive, massive undertaking. Yes, it's an IBJJF, which is kind of the International Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Federation organization. And they are very, very skilled and professional at all of their venues. And that was one of the things that I was really impressed with. The professional level, the organization, the planning, the support individuals that were around, and all of the, uniform checking people and just everything was professional. And maybe because it was in Barcelona, it was very chilled and relaxed. Of course, it was very sunny and very kind of happy vibes. But being in such a massive venue with 10 mats and stage seating in a sports venue was just incredible. We all enjoyed watching a number of the matches on the Saturday and kind of preparing myself mentally for my match on the Sunday. So I managed to have a look online, see the pre-schedule event or the pre-schedule, which was which day. And then it wasn't until the Friday before, so competing on the Saturday and the Sunday, the Friday, the schedule came out, which is not unusual. But when you're wanting to plan and organize many things in your life, as in, when am I going to have time to do some sightseeing with the children? How can I keep them entertained so they don't get bored, and allow them to really enjoy the city for all it's worth? That then on the Friday gave me the opportunity to start planning events and activities. So we were able to enjoy some of Barcelona, a walk along the beach, to the aquarium, to the marina. We did the bus tour. I caught a glimpse of the cathedral, which was absolutely stunning. So if you're ever in Barcelona or thinking about going to Barcelona, do it. It is incredible. Seeing kind of street parades and parties and kind of immersing ourselves in the actual true culture of the city, as well as the commercial tourist aspect. This is the Jiu Jitsu Lou podcast with me, Lou Temlett, coming to you from the UK. Go and check out the latest video clips over on jiu.jitsu.lu. And as you're listening or watching on your favourite podcast platform, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a 5-star rating. Today, I'm talking about my first competition experience. I just want to say thank you for listening in so far. I have now managed to achieve 30 episodes. And when I started out, maybe 9 months ago with this podcast, I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know what life had in store for me, nor did I think it would be an IBJJF Masters competition experience. So the Sunday came along. I was able to meet up with a couple of my Instagram followers. So thank you very much for reaching out. It was great to see you at the venue. And I just want to say thank you so much for your support and encouragement. You know, it really does help to reflect when you go through life and you make decisions and you just progress step by step as if everything's fine and everything's normal and that's how life should be. And of course, that is how life should be. But I want to thank you for your support and encouragement because it makes life just that little bit nicer. Thank you all. You know who you are. I won't name you right now, but I respect your privacy and your support and encouragement. So comes to the competition day. I'm in my gi, I'm ready. I just want to talk about IBJJF rules. One of the new rules that I noticed, that's really important as well, to acknowledge and review the rule set of your competition. But one of the new rules was not for anybody, I guess, to not wear makeup that would stain an opponent's gi. Now, I do wear makeup to make me feel a bit more even and alive every day. And actually, I take it as me time. But I walked onto the mats and went to the venue that day with all but a little bit of eyebrow pencil and some mascara. And I'd caught the sun a bit the day before, which was lovely. So feeling very fresh-faced, I walk into the bullpen. One of my friends is looking at the screen, making sure that I can kind of proceed. And they check your uniform. So the thickness of your uniform, and if there's enough gap down the inside of your arm on both sides of your gi. Now, my gi is massive. It's been shortened, but it's still very spacious on me. So that was fine. They check your nails, obviously nice and tidy and trimmed. And I was really heartened, actually, being a female, super heavy. I don't have an issue with my weight. I'm 100 kilos. I'm quite comfortable in my own skin. And I wasn't asked to step on the scales, which I thought was really quite respectful. So anything over kind of 80 kilos in the super heavy, I was quite pleased that I didn't have to go through that. I know some other people might feel quite embarrassed about stepping on the scales. In my mindset, maybe a month or two ago, I was worrying about it, but actually it wasn't something I needed to worry about. And then kind of in the waiting area, waiting to walk down to the mats, identifying mat number 7, person with the bib number 7 on. He came and identified me, knew that it was me, that he had to walk down to the competition space as well as my opponent. everyone's very, very kind of closed. It felt like when we were waiting that nobody smiled, nobody looked at each other. And I was feeling quite jovial, quite happy, and, wanting to connect. Yes, I'm in my kind of competition space and feeling like life's okay. Anyway, one of my children filmed me as I was walking down from the waiting area down to my mat. And that for me felt amazing. I caught the eye of one other kind of super heavy male competitor. And, it's really nice when you are acknowledged. And there was a knowing, there was a gentle nod and a good luck wish, which was really nice because going out to Barcelona with my children, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a whole team with me. I was completely on my own. And this was my very first competition. So at the last kind of point, it felt a good place to be. Standing on the mats, knowing that, or standing off the mat, ready to walk on, the judge who I'd kind of seen the day before and during that day then waved me and my competitor opponent onto the mats. And I wasn't really quite sure. All of this footage is, of course, was live streamed onto YouTube and is available. I will put in the show notes my 2 matches. So if you are interested, you can go and have a look. So starting off with the kind of my tactic, I knew that what I wanted to do, I had in my mind, but it became a frustrating experience. I couldn't achieve anything. I couldn't do any takedowns. I struggled to do, maybe I could have pulled guard. Okay, I could have pulled guard, but there was a tussle, there were grips, there was movement, but there was no takedown. There were no progression. And in my first match, we were reset 3 times. And then my mind went straight to how can I progress this match so that I'm not getting penalties, I'm not being disqualified for stalling. So I decided to pull guard. Now, of course, if you train martial arts and have been in a competition experience, for me personally, I don't necessarily like being on the bottom, but also it's one of my most practiced areas in Jiu Jitsu, being a white belt. And, it's not that easy, but when I'm on top, what do I do? There are lots of different maneuvers, but it's then keeping the pressure. Anyway, so I'm on the bottom. She's on top, and don't know, it felt like a blur. Please do go and have a look at the footage. I felt like it was a kind of good experience. And, I was grateful to be there more than anything, to have myself and my young children in another country, actually on a competition mat competing. I was grateful. I'd already got to my place of success. And my aim was to have a match and was to get through the whole of the match time without tapping out. And I did that twice. So for me, I am overjoyed. Next time might be different, and I will continue to learn and grow from all of this experience. But I did walk away with a default medal. I didn't win either of my matches, but I lasted out the duration and felt like, yes, I could have done better. There were lots of learning points, being more aggressive, a taller posture, maybe some other takedowns, which I have since learned during my classes this week. But here is my bronze medal, my very first Jiu-Jitsu medal. It's really heavy. I did actually decide to weigh it. I will have a little competition on my Instagram, but it is 376 grams in weight, which is massive. I feel very proud to be able to hold this medal. And whilst some of us, don't necessarily like the thought of a default medal, it is what it is. I got there, I was successful, and actually to enter a competition and have an opponent, I was incredibly grateful. And the more women that we can encourage to step on the mats, to start training, and to challenge themselves. I was going to talk about the fallout afterwards. I was quite energized. I was ready to go and have another match as soon as my second match had finished. But it was only in the days after that my muscles and my body kind of started to ache and feel quite drained and uncomfortable. I remember sitting at the airport on Sunday night. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, so my match was at 5:00 on the Sunday. My flight was at 10:00 in the evening. And I still had to get back to the hotel, to get our luggage, to get the transfer, to get to the airport on time. So there were lots of other things, as well as competing that afternoon and my match being so late. I had already had to organise transfers back with a window of about 2 hours. So when you go and compete, it is an absolute luxury just to focus on your competition game and your experience and your preparation, let alone all of the logistics, the travel and the transfers and everything else that go along with that. And my heart goes out to anyone that competes that has to deal with all of those extra things, because it's a mind that is then being taken away from the capacity you have to focus on training and competing. Now, maybe if I didn't have all of those responsibilities, my success level would be higher. But I'm grateful that I was able to take part and have the experience. I will continue to compete. There is a cost. Don't get me wrong. These things are not free, easy, cheap. There are barriers to break through: financial, emotional, physical. It is not the easiest thing in the world. And I think some of us make it look incredibly easy and streamlined because we have to focus on so many things in our lives and get everything organized. But I just want to say thank you to all my listeners, to all of you out there listening, and to all of you that I met in Barcelona and that supported me prior to the registration of my competition and encouraged me to push forward, to see what I really wanted to get out of this experience. And I absolutely love how professional such a high level competition is and how chilled and supportive and friendly. But you know what? Going into all of these things, if you have the right mindset of kindness, fighting spirit, all of those wonderful things that make being a human much nicer and kinder, then we are all successful in that space. So what's next? Another competition. It's very easy to register for competitions. To get an opponent is another challenge. I will continue holding out for my next opponent and look forward to seeing everybody else's competitive journey. There will be more, and keep going, all of you that have stepped foot on the competition mats. If you haven't, go and give it a go. I really would echo the words of my professor and encouraging you to give it a go. If it's for you, then go ahead. If it's not for you after that first competition experience, then that's okay. But I would encourage you to go and experience a high level competition, venue, organization experience, because it makes such a difference to how you might feel throughout the whole of the thing. And if anyone needs me to help organize logistics for their next match and encouragement, I'm more than happy to hear from you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening to a solo episode. I may not be doing another solo episode for a while because I've got a great range of guests upcoming. And I just am so grateful for you listening and following my journey. I will be continuing to train, continuing to register for competitions in the hope that there are more opponents. Like one of my guests reflected, they felt nervous about coming onto my podcast. Each time I record, there are no nerves. I enjoy every single recording. And I took that, enjoying every single recording, enjoying walking onto the mats, kind of with whole heart and good feeling. So for me, there weren't nerves. It felt quite normal, actually. I played through so many times in my mind the process of walking onto those competition mats, getting my grips, getting my second grip, moving through. And whilst, didn't quite go to plan, do any competitions go to plan? I think some of them do when you're very focused and have nothing else to think about. But I value all of your feedback and support. So thank you for that. And once again, a special thanks to everyone that supported me throughout my journey so far. Long may it continue. And just thank you for telling your friends about the show. And as soon as this episode ends, I'd really appreciate you dropping the show a rating and a review. Thanks again for listening. Catch you on the next episode of the Jiu Jitsu Lou Podcast.